think they're gonna call.
So we good? Okay. Well, I'm going to talk for about a half hour, and then if you'd like, you can ask me some questions. Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph LJ Schwartz, SID, Dr. JLJ for short, and I have been a practicing psychologist for a little over 3 decades. And welcome to 2024. It's here already, right? So thanks for having me. And let me start off by telling you a little story about what happened to me a quick 10 years ago, where I experienced one of the most devastating emotional and financial setbacks of my life. Under one arm, I had a lot of great degrees. I went to Poly Prep CDS, Lehigh University, Queens College, Fairclough Graduate School of Psychology, and in my other hand, I had a food stamp card. And on top of all that, to make matters absolutely worse, my wife passed away. So all this did happen, and I have to tell you, it was quite a humbling experience. But after reconnecting with my yoga practice and my practice of transcendental meditation, everything just turned around very, very quickly, 100%. I was able to restart my forensic and clinical psych practice that I have today. I purchased 2 homes. I wrote a book. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can get it online, called Super Radiant. And I started a podcast. My podcast is called Mental Resilience Through Meditation. And if you'd like, you can listen to it on Apple and Spotify. I have quite a few nice topics there. So let me share with you my journey and let you know that you can become a more stronger, successful, more resilient person in 2024, the way I did, and beyond. So I decided to describe this process of what I went through over the years in my book, Super Radiant. And there were 3 reasons why I wanted to write this book. And the first was to let you know how a healthcare professional handled 2 of the worst circumstances that anyone could experience in life, which is financial disaster and then loss of a spouse. The second reason that I wrote this book was because I really couldn't wake up in the morning and call myself a psychologist without addressing all the hate, all the anger, all the violence, the gun violence that's directed against ourselves, our families, other racial groups, minorities, against people that want gender change, and not do something about it. So I wanted to do something about it, and the third reason I wrote this book was to tell you how all of you can attain peace. Peace for yourself, the individual, peace for your families, peace for society, peace for our country. And I found in my practice and going through this experience that happened to me that there really are 3 ways to accomplish this, okay? The first thing that I think we all have to understand is that you can't be afraid to reach out and talk to someone if you're having a problem. I think the stigma in our society today that may still be there against psychotherapy or anyone going for psychotherapy has to be let go. There's plenty of gun violence, and of course the proliferation of guns is awful, but there are people behind the guns pulling the trigger, and those are the people that really need help. And reaching out, talking to someone, not being afraid to do that, I think is really essential. And all of us, and including myself. I mean, after this happened to me, I put myself into therapy, and I was very glad that I did. But it's really essential, I think, to helping this country mend from all the terrible violence perpetuated by people with mental health problems. And the second is to exercise as much as possible. So many people in this country are overweight, they're sluggish, they really just, they're attached to these devices, myself included, but I like to go to the gym. They have a beautiful gym here at DuPont. And you know, when you exercise, you increase all those endorphins and all those wonderful feelings that make you feel great. Anybody here exercise? Okay, well, good, everybody does. And the last thing, which I think is so important, is to really address the stress issue that we have in this society, which is so overwhelming. And the way to do that head on is to learn the Transcendental Meditation technique from a certified teacher. Okay, it'll help you reduce your stress. It'll help you keep you happy this year and for the rest of your life. It's a wonderful technique that you could learn. Now, you might ask me, look at you, you know, you've got free answers for the problems of the world. But where's the evidence that these techniques work? So I'm not going to bore you with all these articles that have been published year after year on the benefits of psychotherapy and how people who start the therapy process feel so much better, and they're able to vent and they're able to solve their problems. And this is what I think we need in this country: more people to go to therapy, more people to not be afraid to talk about their problems. And the benefits of that has been well established in many, many, many articles. So has the benefits of exercise. And again, I'm not going to cite all these scientific studies. You can go to your primary care physician, and he'll vouch for everything that I've said about exercise, everything that I've said about going to therapy. I mean, I've gotten so many referrals from primary care physicians in the course of my practice, and it's really a good thing. I don't think you can go to a practice today. I think my last visit was down in Lewis, Delaware, before I moved here, and actually primary care physicians have a checklist. They ask you if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed, and that's such a wonderful thing that they're starting to do that a lot more, because we really need to have more screening for that. And a lot of you may not know what Transcendental Meditation is, but I'm gonna, if you allow me, I'm just gonna read some evidence of the effectiveness of this technique, because it's been around for decades and it's been studied quite extensively. So let me tell you what it is, first of all. So during the TM practice, which is a meditation, the active thinking mind settles down naturally to a state of pure awareness, in quotation marks, where the mind is silent yet fully alert. At the same time, the body gains a profound state of rest and relaxation. So this unique state of restful alertness enhances brain functioning, eliminates accumulated stress and fatigue, and this experience itself increases creativity, intelligence, and improved health, reported by people that practice the TM technique. I must have given, or I don't teach it myself, but I've suggested dozens of my patients to go and learn it, because in the mental health fields, people have so much stress, and 12 out of 12, 15 out of 15 of the patients that I've asked them to start this technique just love it. It's easy. They do it twice a day for 20 minutes. And let me cite some more studies about how TM, Transcendental Meditation, can be effective. So there have been 675 studies done on the Transcendental Meditation technique at 250 independent universities and research institutions, including Harvard Medical School, Cornell Medical School, University of Michigan, UCLA Medical School. There have been many, many articles published. Over 400 articles have been published in the leading peer-reviewed scientific and medical journals, including Scientific American, Science, the American Heart Association, Hypertension, Stroke, and the American Medical Association's Archive of Internal Medicine. During the past 18 years, the National Institute of Health has awarded over $24 million to study the beneficial effects of the TM technique on heart disease, hypertension, and stroke. And let me just tell you a little bit more about TM. There's no requirement that you change your lifestyle. Once you learn this technique, which is practiced twice a day for 20 minutes, and I've been doing it for decades myself, and the reports have been that many people from all nationalities and religions practice TM. There's no requirement that you change your lifestyle. TM is completely areligious and apolitical, so that has nothing to do with religion or politics. And they've also done studies on brainwave. You know, every time you wake up and go to sleep, you're triggering different brainwaves. I mean, right now we're in what's known as waking state, which is characterized by a very high degree of alpha waves. Okay, what they discovered when and then when you rest, it goes down to more beta, and when you sleep, it's in very heavy beta, and then when you dream, you're in what's known as delta wave. Okay, so I mean, we go about our business in this consciousness that we experience every day, but we don't realize that the brain is really functioning all the time and in different states of consciousness, okay? And this can be measured by the EEG. So with the TM technique, that when people are practicing TM and you go into that profound state of rest, they notice that there's enhanced EEG coherence, marked improvements in the all-important prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain, which governs such key executive functions as planning, decision-making, problem-solving, and judgment. So all that is boosted every day. And in my field, in mental health, there's a very, very, very strong correlation with patients who start the TM technique and improvement in their overall mental health. And I've witnessed this throughout the years. These include marked reductions in high blood pressure, anxiety, depression, insomnia, and other stress-related disorders. And the interesting thing about TM as well is that you don't even have to believe in it. You know, one of my heroes, Wayne Dyer, who I listened to and read all of his books, he was always fond of saying, you'll see it when you believe it, because he would turn around the expression that somebody skeptical would say, you know, I'll only believe it when I see it. Now, believing something and having faith in what you're doing is important, but and that's another lecture. But like, just getting back to the TM technique itself, you can be as skeptical as possible. You don't even have to believe in it, and it's going to work for you every day as long as you do it. It's kind of like people that go to the gym and they do curls and they say, well, I don't believe in curls, I don't believe in curls, I don't believe in curls, you know, and then you go home and you have this big muscle. So that's exactly what happens with TM. Don't even have to believe in it. You're given the technique, you do it twice a day, it's very easy, and it just blasts all the stress out of your system, which is really wonderful. So there you have it. I shared with you a story about a guy who went inside to find resilience and strength, and who was able to solve all the problems outside, the difficult problems, very easily. And I'm going to conclude my little talk here today by paraphrasing Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "What lies before us and lies behind us pales in comparison to what lies within us." Thank you, everybody. And if you have some questions, anybody have some questions? Yes?
Well, why don't you go over what the
transcendental meditation
steps are that you take to put yourself in that position? I realize you should be taught this, but what exactly is it? What exactly is it that you're doing to try to put yourself in that position?
Well, I think we're all familiar with prayer. Prayer has been taught to us in churches and synagogues and mosques. We understand what prayer is. And it's funny, even in the Bible, the corollary between meditation and prayer has always been so close. So meditation is different than prayer in that you're doing something with your eyes closed, okay? But it's a technique that I can't teach you, okay? But it's a very easy technique that's been passed down through centuries, originating in India by the gurus there. By the way, guru means teacher, and it's a tradition that you learn in a ceremony, and they give you something called a mantra, which is really a meaningless sound. And your particular mantra is based on various aspects of you as an individual, your birthday, where you're from, your gender. And it really is a beautiful little ceremony that takes place, and you learn the mantra and you're taught how to do it. And it's not just one session. You take a whole course of about a week's time, where you attend 3 sessions online and 1 in person, where you finally get your mantra. But you learn about the whole tradition, and specifically the very important scientific evidence behind what you're doing. I mean, everybody knows Om, and everybody knows this, and everybody knows that, but it's nothing like that. It's really a very strong and powerful technique that you learn, and that's yours for life. And just let me tell you, I hope I answered your question, but I mean, yeah.
I think I'd rather get more into details, but go ahead.
Right. Yes.
I would say 50-some years ago, I took a class on it, and I did it for a couple of years. And
right.
It was great. I still remember my mantra. Every now and then I thought, oh, I'm going to start doing it again, and I don't. So maybe tomorrow I'll start again.
Well, you should start tomorrow. And let me tell you a story, because when I was going through this awful period between 10 years ago when my wife died and all these terrible things happened, before that, I had stopped doing TM. And what I noticed is, and this is supported by research, all the decisions that I was making while not doing TM were just bad. They were just the worst decisions. I left our home in New Jersey, bought a home down, and this is in my book. You can read about it, down in Georgia, which was really a big mistake, an entirely different universe down there. My mother was there, my sister was there, but that decision was done when I wasn't meditating, and it was a terrible decision. And what the studies have found, the scientific studies have found over the decades, is that because you create such a high degree of coherence when you meditate every day, twice a day, over and over again, your decisions are very powerful and usually are great decisions. And like I just said before, the correlation between what was going on in my life, the disaster, and when I wasn't meditating was really profound. And then when I got back into meditating, everything just moved along so quickly. I mean, I bought 2 houses. I was in all these group practices here in Delaware. I left that to start a solo practice. Took off wonderfully, and fast. It happened really fast, like not 5 years, within a year or 2. I was back on track. I built a home down in Sussex County, which I sold to move up here. Bought a beautiful home right around here. And everything really smoothed out with my family, with so many things. So the benefit of it is really, I think, immeasurable, in my opinion. But, you know, it's a subjective thing. You have to really do the technique and appreciate it. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Ron.
Ron. What Ron just said is so true, because I learned this technique when I was in college, maybe 30 some odd years ago. I stopped doing it. I started it again. And it was really not a good idea. And now that I'm doing it regularly, it really, it's just amazing how much I've accomplished. Yes, I'm sorry.
So, is it something that you do have to do regularly, right? So forget you do it and then you stop for a month and you come back to it. But is it really a daily, like you said, daily, twice a day?
Absolutely twice a day for optimal benefit. You know, we wake up every day in this society and you're being programmed, okay? By default, you're being programmed. You wake up in the morning and you turn on the radio or you turn on the television and you see all these ads over and over and over again, you know, buy these supplements, buy these pills, you know, it mixes with water and it's gonna get rid of your weight. I mean, everything is so unscientific. Everything has not been approved by the FDA. This is a technique that takes work because you do have to sit quietly twice a day, but you're in bliss. I mean, imagine coming out of that and just being happy for no reason. The more you do it, what starts to happen is your consciousness starts to change. And, you know, stories about being enlightened or being in a higher state of consciousness, that it's a very much a reality. So, but that, you know, that's not the main thing. It's a big thing, but the immediate benefit is that you're creating a lot of coherence every time you take the time to sit down for 20 minutes and do it. You're creating tremendous coherence in your brain. And then, of course, there are advanced techniques in which I've learned all of them, including the highest one, and those really boost you up. So it really, I think it's a very timely technique in these times where I guess in our society, there's so much tension and there's so much aggravation, and I mentioned before the hate, the anger. I mean, there's a technique available that all of us can use, and they've done studies of school kids. If anybody here is in education, I was in education for many years as a school psychologist before I started my other business, and it's just amazing how improved kids in Chicago and in Los Angeles, they've done these studies, and you can look them up online. When they introduce the TM technique into the school system, the kids calm down, they're motivated, they're happier, they don't get into drugs or violence, and their grades start to improve. And I hope more schools take it up, because right now the school system is an absolute disaster. And none of the administrators want to take any responsibility for that. But somebody else had a question? I'm sorry.
Well, I just think this, oh, go ahead.
Yes, yeah.
Well, can you demonstrate what you do in 20 minutes? I don't understand at all what we do. I've tried it for times, just keeping your mind blank and trying
Yes.
to, it's very hard to do.
Well,
but
here's,
what do you do for
I'm
20
sorry, your
minutes?
first name is?
Lois.
Lois, let me explain to you an interesting study that they did, where they compared all these different meditations, mindfulness, and they did it with control groups with 20 people wanted to do the mindfulness technique, 20 people you do Zen meditation, 20 people you do TM. And what they found was there was a tremendous difference in how peaceful people felt during the TM technique versus trying to come back to a meaningless sound that Zen does, or mindfulness, thinking of it was a lot of work. And if you don't know what you're doing, you get what you pay for, basically. If you're trying to meditate on your own, looking up stuff online, which there are hundreds of videos and all sorts of experts who tell you how to do things, it will be hard, Lois.
But can you tell us what you do?
I can tell you that I sit quietly. Well, my program starts with yoga, with the yoga asanas that I learn, and then maybe do some breathing exercises, and then I do my TM. And it runs for about an hour, 45 minutes to 50 minutes. I can't tell you what my mantra is, that's personal. But
and what is the mantra to you?
Mantra is a sound. There's vibrations, right? There's vibrations within the universe. And if you go back many years, my generation used to say, I get good vibes when I talk to that guy or that woman, right? So what is it? You can't see vibes, it's a feeling, right? So, like when I talk like this, there's a different vibration. And when I talk like that, so tonality and voice, what they have found in the Vedas, the ancient texts of India, they found that these sounds have a very profound effect on the brain and the nervous system, such that you enter a very, very relaxed state, a very peaceful, blissful state. And that state, in fact, can be measured through the EEG, through all these studies, scientifically. So it's not just I'm telling you, oh, it's going to really work. You can actually measure it. If you, and then what they've also found is that once people start doing it in a group, the group effect compounds it. And I'll tell you an interesting, I hope I answered your question. Maybe I didn't. I'm sorry.
How do you choose your mantra, for example?
A mantra is given to you by a certified teacher who's learned the traditions extending back 3,000 years.
So you can't just do it on your own?
Absolutely not, and I would never advise you. There's one person in my practice who just is fighting me. He doesn't want to go to a teacher. He wants to do it on his own, and it's not going to work as profoundly as the genuine thing, right? So it really is something that is worth taking the course. It's yours for life. Let's put it that way, okay? And it's very enjoyable. And when I talked about consciousness, what starts to happen is, Lois, once you start doing this technique and you stick with it twice a day, your consciousness starts to change. And what you start to find, I'm really feeling very blissful and happy when I do TM 20 minutes a day. So I can't wait to get back to doing that, even though I have all this stress. But what starts to happen, you come out of the transcendental state of doing the mantra and you're in a waking state, right? Then you start to notice, boy, I'm feeling really happy just walking around. And that's because your blissfulness is being transferred into another state of consciousness, waking state. And it can happen. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of the TM technique, used to say, you take a cloth, a blank cloth, and you put it in the dye being the TM technique, and you put it out in the sun. And you keep doing that until the cloth is put out in the sun, waking state, and it's all yellow or orange, which is dye, the TM. So you're imbuing those wonderful feelings in your body and your mind day after day after day. And that's when you really start to enjoy life, in my opinion. And does this mean nothing bad will happen to you, or you'll get a $250,000 contract tomorrow? I think we have to distinguish between what TM is and the law of attraction. It doesn't mean you're going to get all these wonderful things coming to you immediately if you keep doing TM. That may happen, and there have been instances in my own life where people have showed up the more I've done this, who've been very helpful to me. But the main thing is that you're really getting smarter. And I can't really describe the feeling. I mean, I'm a psychologist. Everybody in the world of psychology says, well, your IQ is stable. You're at 118 or 115 or 110 or 100, which is average. You're going to be that way the rest of your life. And what I found is, and they've done studies already about this, that have shown that the more you do TM, you actually get smarter. Grades improve, your decisions improve, and that's because you're creating so much coherence in your brain. Okay? I mean, we don't really know 100% of exactly what the human being is. But I can tell you, no one here should be afraid of AI. No one here should be afraid of AI because the most sophisticated computer is you. And when you learn how to use that, and when you learn these ancient techniques, you can just really superpower your mind and your body and accomplish so many things. And I hope that answered your question.
Sounds intriguing.
But I can't tell you, I can't tell you the exact thing that I do, but I learned it, and it's not like learning algebra. It's a very simple technique and very enjoyable. Yeah.
Where can you take the course on?
That's a good question, and a good friend of mine. First of all, what you all should know about TM is that you go online and you just plug in bigtbigm.org. Okay, you go to that site, you'll see all the research that I've talked about, how it's helped PTSD people. But to find a teacher, you go to that site, tm.org, and you plug in your zip code. If you live around here, I have a good friend, his name is Vincent Garone. If you go to any one of my websites here or my email, I'd be glad to put you in touch with him. But you can just look up TM teacher, Philadelphia, Wilmington. You'll see Vincent Garone. You can call him. And he's a great guy. He really is. Yeah.
As a doctor, so I believe young people today, right, they definitely could benefit from this type of therapy. What's your advice to get someone to try it, right? Especially like a young male, right? So my son, he does go to therapy, or at least he should be going, but kind of struggles a little bit with depression and anxiety. I think it's just a phase transition in his life, but he certainly could benefit from this. But like, what kind of advice would you give me to talk to him to get him to try it?
To try TM?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me compliment your son for going to therapy.
Right.
That's the first leg. The second is, does he exercise at all?
Yeah. He's got himself overweight, but he likes to walk, hike. He lives in Utah. The snow inhibits the hiking as he gets snowshoes.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But he skis, he snowboards, like he's active.
Yeah, you see, improving your mental health, to me, from what I was taught, and I was taught by two famous psychologists. I was taught by Albert Ellis, and I was taught by another professor from Rutgers who was more of a behaviorist. So you have to use a multimodal approach to get better. And the third leg is this TM. And you have to, have them look at all the literature, have them buy my book, and just tell him, you know, he's got stress. Everybody has stress, and you know, you're gonna feel so much better when you relieve that stress twice a day. Okay, but don't forget, you also need to go to therapy, and don't forget to diet and exercise.
Yeah.
The more you exercise, I mean, you can't, the law of thermodynamics, you know, you can't beat that, because the law simply says that the less you take in and the more you exercise, you gotta lose weight.
Yeah, my brother will tell you, you don't have to tell me that exercise is important, right? I mean, I totally I get it, for sure.
Yeah, so you see, but TM will really get him to feel a lot more relaxed if he's an anxious person, because there's so much literature out there. You know, the correlation is wonderful. It may not be the only thing that he needs, so I wouldn't tell him, oh, we'll just do TM and forget about your therapy.
Right.
Is he taking medication?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm totally anti-medication. Now, that doesn't mean I don't take high blood pressure medicine or, you know, stuff in your prostate, but I think my biggest beef is against the drug companies that really push these antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, which, you know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, there was nothing. And then they introduced these medicines and they work. But the problem is that they have these terrible side effects. I mean, you gain too much weight, you lose weight, you can't sleep, you sleep too much, sexual side effects. So, and paradoxically, if you look at a box of antidepressants, on the side there'll be these black warnings that say, oh, by the way, there's a possibility if you take this drug, you can even become even more depressed and even suicidal. So, my whole thing as a psychologist, we don't prescribe, we've never prescribed, is that talking about your problems is probably a lot more effective than taking tons of drugs. I mean, that's what our society is. It's like everything is a quick fix. Take this pill, take this other pill, and you're gonna feel better. But certain things, including the meditation, exercising, and then going for your therapy sessions, actually take work, you know? So the best thing for your son to do is to learn more about what TM is and just encourage him. So
Well, it sounds like it's an extra tool. It's a tool you can use. I mean, I think young people today, and I know our son and my sons and I, but I think young people, the people, I say in the 20s and 30s, are faced with an unusual set of circumstances in their lives that maybe it was easier for us to go through in the past, such as buying a house, setting up the career, starting or not starting a family, all that stuff. There's so much anxiety for those young people today that it sounds to me like TM would be a useful tool for them.
Yes.
To bring some clarity in their mind. It's always anxious, always firing, they're always in front of a screen. Those kind of things, it's just going to create more anxiousness to them. But TM to me sounds like a tool they can use to say, whoa, slow down a minute, let's get our priorities in order, and then we can attack.
That's absolutely right. And you know, let me just, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name.
Vince.
Vince?
Like your friend the doctor, Vince.
Okay, Vince, you know, I have patients in my practice, a lot of them are all retirees, and they have a whole different set of anxiety. So TM is not just for, and you think you're right, that it is hard for young people today, but there's a whole different set of anxieties that retirees have. And many of them start practicing TM, and they're like different people. You know, they find they're happier and they communicate better. They find hobbies. They find things that they like to do. So whether you're 17 or 71, you could learn it. It's very beneficial to lower your blood pressure. to improve your overall health. Doesn't mean you should stop going to see your doctor, but you know, it's just a really good, it's what I refer to as fertilizer. In other words, the TM is like fertilizer if you have ideas, if you have goals or ambitions, and you can have them anytime in your life. I mean, I only got into this business in my 60s, and I should have maybe done it sooner. But I feel like there's so much more to accomplish in my life, and I think that's another thing that I was influenced by Wayne Dyer and by extension Abraham Maslow. And you know, our brand of psychology is, you know, not to look at how neurotic you are or how screwed up you are, but really to encourage people to grow. And you can grow whether you're 20 or whether you're 75. So you have to look inside, and your son should do this too, and just ask himself, you know, what can I be really great at? You know, what special creative spark do I have? Or what can I be really good at in this lifetime? And then go for it, you know? And then use these techniques that I've suggested, exercise, therapy, and TM. And that's really going to help you become a very successful, high-achieving person. And it's not just achieving things, okay? And it's not just accomplishing things. It's the whole journey. You know, I mean, we don't have 300 years to live, but you know, while you're living, you want to enjoy it. So I hope I help people here tonight and answered a few questions. So anybody else?
I was just curious why both of you stopped if it was so blissful. Why did you both stop? Because it's work? Why did you stop doing it? You said,
Why did I
both
stop
of you
doing it?
said you stopped doing it for a while.
I stopped doing it because, well, you know, it's kind of a personal thing. I was married twice, and I don't know. I mean, I just my second marriage was a wonderful marriage, and in many ways it wasn't. But we had a whole bunch of friends and a social life and running places and doing things. And I just got out of it. You know, everything is a routine. Everything is a program, right? You're running your program, you're meeting events, and I put other people, you know, including my spouse, ahead of what I really needed to do for myself. Now, does this mean you should, you know, just forget about your partner and not have any fun with them? You should just practice TM, you know, go on all these retreats and live in a cave. I think the beauty about TM is that you don't have to do that. You can be a householder and practice this stuff right from home. And you can go to parties and events. But I just got my priorities were different. And I got lazy. And then I realized that every day you wake up, and I mentioned this before, by default, you are being programmed. You're being programmed by Madison Avenue, by the stuff you read, by the stuff on the internet, over and over and over and over again. And a lot of that stuff is not very good for you. You know, you're feeding on bad stuff. And when you decide to get back in touch with these ancient techniques and program yourself with your own program, that's when, you know, you say it takes time, but the results are really amazing. They're just amazing because you really start to be happy, with or without all these things that you used to think were so important, you know? So that's a good question, why I stopped. I mean, I guess that was a time in my life when things were different, and I guess we all have regrets. But so,
The other thing is kids are being programmed very differently than we were when we were young. And case in fact is a child at my daughter's school this week committed suicide when he was in 6th grade. So that's an example.
now, the suicide happened because she was being bullied or because she had a lot of problems?
They haven't come out and said it. I've heard a few stories, bullied in gaming, on games that most children his age don't game, and being bullied gaming.
Bully? What? Something?
Bullied gaming.
Bully?
While I was gaming, online gaming with other
Yeah.
participants, kids, and then you can bully them, cyberbullying, I guess we
Yeah,
call
it
it.
came, and the whole school came as a shock to the whole school, and there was all counseling set up. But that's what you said about TM for schools. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Well, yeah, David Lynch, the famous producer and director, he has a whole foundation, and one of his missions is to go into hospitals and schools and get more people to do it. And I think part of my goal here in my life is to try to do more speaking in schools and hospitals and try to get more people to do it. But cyberbullying and the internet really has opened up, it's a Pandora's box. It can be good and bad. There's so much information that we can get from the internet that's good and bad, but the way people behave, well, that in my opinion, sometimes that happens from poor parenting. I mean, there are all sorts of variables. I mean, millions and millions of people play video games, okay, and or a lot of these games, and a lot of them, don't commit suicide. So I would really look at all the facts about why that tragic event, it's a very tragic event, and why that girl, she was a girl, a boy? Okay, well, why didn't that boy reach out for help? Why didn't his parents recognize that he was being bullied? Did he talk to his parents? And responsible parents, and hopefully parents are responsible, will get, like I said, will get kids, adults, adolescents into therapy, because it's so important to get help. If you don't get help, bad stuff could happen. And
I'm not sure you can really put that on the parents without knowing all the facts. I mean, the suicide of a 6th grader is...
well, that's bizarre. How many 6th graders are doing that?
But, I mean, it's a tough world we live in now, and none of us were 12 in 2023. So I think it's...
No, I'm not saying it's the
You
parents.
have to be careful about putting that out there without knowing a lot.
I don't know. That's right. And I said I don't know all the facts of why this happened. Maybe the parents asked this individual, this kid, to go for help, and he didn't want to. I mean, it's like the argument with guns. Guns are fine. It's the people, right? It's really both. It's really the proliferation of guns and the people that are using them. But I'm not saying it's the parents, only. I mean, you go to schools, and I worked in schools, and the kids in schools are bad. They have no. When I was working in the schools, what I noticed right away is that the kids had absolutely no respect for the teachers. And, by extension, they have no respect for themselves, and you have to wonder how they're being raised, okay? And it's not just, it's a whole society thing, and if people had TM in their life, and they were serious about solving their problems and reducing their stress, maybe all this wouldn't happen. But in the case of someone unfortunately ending their life. I mean, that's just tragic, and there's all sorts of things that contribute to that, absolutely. And hopefully we don't have more of that. But it's the incidence of violence that today, I would say, statistically are much higher than when all of us went to school, when we were sixth graders. You know, I think that's pretty much a fact, and and that, you know, that's what I really want to address: how to get people to reach out and get help, and understand that they can be helped. And I think if bullying takes place, there has to be some discipline for that, especially in the schools, you know. And hopefully school administrators will address that. And yeah, I mean, I've worked in schools. School administrators and teachers will always say it's the parents' fault. The parents will always say, the schools don't do anything, and they're not helping my kid. So it's always back and forth, okay? But I think that we have to end the finger pointing and just say that there's a technique out there that kids and parents and teachers and everybody, young and old, could use if they want to, and it's available.
I think it'd be hard for a 10-year-old to do that. I mean, I know a little bit about TM. and I just-
Well, there are techniques for children.
Okay.
There are techniques that children can learn if you know, with getting parental permission to do it. But TM is completely apolitical. It's areligious. You don't have to attend anything. You just learn it once, and it's yours for life. But anybody have some nice plans for 2024 now that we've started? Well, you're going to start TM, I hope. Restart. Okay.
Well, we're into it for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed my talk. Anybody else have any questions about anything? But you can. I plan to do some more podcasts. You can follow me on social media if you'd like. You can read the book. My podcast is called Mental Resilience Through Meditation. It's on Apple and Spotify. I have a lot of interesting topics I plan to talk about. And you're welcome to contact me with any further questions. Thank you so much. Thank you. So see you guys at the club or the yeah.
She actually,
Yeah.
the first one.
Right, okay, we just got out.